Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand.
She might have a lawsuit too.
Singer Dawn Richard testifies that Sean Diddy Combs hit Cassie Ventura with a skillet full of eggs.
You got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things will make you do strange things.
What does it take to shut down an entire courtroom? Apparently, all it takes is one woman, Dawn Richard, stepping onto the stand and shattering everything we thought we knew about Diddy. This wasn't just a testimony, this was a nuclear bomb of allegations dropped in front of a stunned jury. 4 days. That's how long Dawn sat on that witness stand, facing relentless cross-examination. But she didn't back down. Instead, she spoke truths that no one in the industry dared to say out loud until now. The courtroom, once buzzing with anticipation, fell into dead silence the moment she described Diddy allegedly beating Cassie with a skillet full of eggs. Yes, a skillet, full of his eggs. And it wasn't just that moment. It was the weight of years of abuse, manipulation, and unchecked power finally being dragged into the light. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't rumor. This was first-hand horror, told by someone who lived in the eye of Diddy's storm.
Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand. The defense hit her hard during cross-examination, asking her about a stint in rehab for PTSD, a rape allegation, and asking her to read explicit text messages from over the past 15 years.
Richard accused Combs of sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and a hostile work environment by being exposed to sex trafficking and sex acts. She also alleged that she was a victim of false imprisonment. In her suit, Richard stated she was seeking compensatory and punitive damages, as well as other costs for post-traumatic stress, anxiety, and emotional suffering, and financial losses she suffered as a result of Combs' alleged behavior. Combs has denied her allegations. His lawyer told E! News in September, Mr. Combs is shocked and disappointed by this lawsuit. Richard's testimony in Combs' ongoing trial comes 8 months after she accused the rapper in a lawsuit of subjecting her to years of inhumane working conditions, which included groping, assault, and false imprisonment. The lawsuit, filed in September, obtained by E! News, stated, Mr. Combs frequently held meetings with Ms. Richard wearing only his underwear, despite Ms. Richard's protests and repeated requests for him to put on clothing. In her filing, the 41-year-old also alleged that Combs ordered her to strip down to her underwear, made demeaning remarks about her body, and entered her dressing room unannounced while she was unclothed, and touched her without her permission under the guise of showing the stylist what to do.
Dawn Richard's words didn't just sting, they struck like lightning. As a former Danity Kane member, she wasn't just some peripheral figure. She had been inside the machine. She'd seen it. She'd lived it. And when she described what she saw between Cassie and Diddy, it was more than disturbing. It was damning. She didn't speak like someone repeating secondhand stories. She spoke like someone who had watched it happen, who had felt the tension, the fear, the dread in the room every time Diddy's temper snapped. One moment in particular froze the courtroom. Dawn described Diddy screaming at Cassie so viciously, so cruelly, that Cassie physically recoiled as if she'd been hit. Even though it was just words, but delivered with the kind of venom that scars deeper than fists. But this wasn't just about one fight. According to Dawn, this was a pattern. Cassie, she said, spent most of her time just trying to survive. Let that sink in. Just trying to survive. Not love, not live, survive. That line echoed through the courtroom like a siren. Legal experts later said it was one of the most powerful lines of testimony they'd ever heard. And Diddy, his reaction was unmistakable. He squirmed. He leaned into his legal team. He looked like a man watching his empire crumble, brick by brutal brick.
If she witnessed, and she's saying that she witnessed a gangbang, which actually we know it as called a train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTube, it could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant. But now we know that the train to Paris was a train in Scotland. It wasn't a train in Paris, it was a train in Scotland. Every time I have a witness doing something is when 2 guys and 2 girls would go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he'd gotten bold enough whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Danity Kane alum Don Richard, who began working with Sean Diddy Combs while competing on his show Making the Band in 2004, took the stand after Cassie wrapped her testimony May 16th. Richard joined Combs' group Diddy Dirty Money after Danity Kane disbanded. While on the stand, she told jurors that she saw Combs hit Ventura with a skillet full of eggs at his Los Angeles home in 2009. Richard testified per NBC News. He came downstairs asking where his phone was, and he threw her to the ground. He attempted to kick her. She fell to the ground and went into the fetal position, literally trying to hide her head. In addition to striking Ventura with the skillet, Richard said Combs put his arm around the singer's neck and took her upstairs before she heard glass breaking. Richard added, "I was scared for her. I was scared to do anything."
And then came the recording. An audio file that captured Cassie at her breaking point, her voice raw, desperate, furious. She wasn't performing, she wasn't posing. She was fighting to reclaim something, anything, after what she'd endured. Her words were jagged, her tone volcanic. She was threatening a Diddy associate, someone allegedly holding damning footage of a violent altercation. And in that moment, Cassie sounded like a woman who had nothing left to lose. Legal analysts described it as a defining moment in the trial, not because it made Cassie look unstable, but because it showed exactly how broken she'd become. This was what years of psychological warfare looked like. Her rage wasn't random. It was trauma screaming through her throat. And the man on the other end of that rage, he wasn't a stranger. He was part of Diddy's inner circle, meaning this wasn't just between two lovers. This was a machine, a system, designed to isolate, control, and silence her. The defense would later try to twist this tape to say it made Cassie look irrational, but for everyone else listening, it sounded like a woman trapped in a cycle of power, fear, and silence. Finally snapping.
Those are things that she's gonna have to bring up into the lawsuit, that Diddy stopped the way that she was working and how she could work by the fact that he would change, like you just said. What she would do, bro, he would turn off her mic and don't let her sing songs or don't let her do certain things, a part of the band, when he do her sexual advancement. I don't know what to say about that, brother. All I can say is that, you know, all of it sounds like using his power. He's using his power to get at people that works for him. And when you do that, when they bring you to court, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna lose if they can prove it.
One text message, Cassie writes, "I'm lost without you."
We know now that she called herself Cece for Cassie Combs. We know now that she wanted to have a child with him.
Jurors also heard an audio recording where Cassie could be heard threatening to kill a Diddy associate who had video of one of her freak-offs with Diddy.
The jurors were shocked. I saw the eyebrows raised.
Cassie was asked about receiving a FaceTime from her now husband while she was having sex with Diddy.
I think they're trying to use what they can, again, to discredit her as a witness.
Then the defense tried a new angle. Discredit Cassie by dragging her past into the spotlight. PTSD rehab, a previous rape allegation, texts from over a decade ago. They laid it all out, not to bring truth, but to plant doubt, classic strategy. But in this case, it might have backfired spectacularly, because instead of making Cassie look unreliable, it made her look human, vulnerable, like someone who had been manipulated from every angle and still had the courage to speak. When the jury heard a message from Cassie saying, "I'm lost without you," the defense smirked. They thought they had her. But trauma experts will tell you that's not weakness. That's what long-term emotional abuse does. It makes the victim cling to the very person hurting them. Every attempt to humiliate Cassie, every intimate message, every painful memory only deepened the narrative that she was trapped, controlled, gaslit. And with each new revelation, the jury seemed to lean in just a little closer.
We're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual.
The facts are the facts, the texts are the texts, and I think that the evidence will be clear.
That Ventura had a choice and that she chose to participate in those sexual encounters.
Where she is entertaining other people in the bedroom. He enjoyed having the freak-offs.
She's being asked specifically about the drug use.
She is clearly excited about freak off.
Now comes the next tremor in this legal earthquake. Aubrey O'Day, another Danity Kane alum, another insider, another voice that could pull the curtain back even further. Aubrey has never been shy about the chaos of working under Diddy, but now, under oath, her testimony could either confirm or explode the picture we're starting to see. And she's not the only one. Former employees, people who lived in Diddy's orbit day after day, are lining up to speak. And once you get multiple voices telling the same kind of story, that's no longer hearsay, that's a pattern. If Aubrey testifies to seeing the same power dynamics, the same manipulation, the same emotional control, it won't matter how much money Diddy throws at his defense, the foundation will crack. And once it does, it won't stop. What we're seeing is no longer a he said, she said drama. This is an unraveling, a deconstruction of a public figure whose private life may have been steeped in darkness, and the witnesses haven't even finished. Week 1 of this trial wasn't just explosive, it was historic. The courtroom has become a battlefield of truth, trauma, and reputation. Diddy's stoic exterior is cracking, and every tear Cassie sheds, every word Dawn speaks, every witness who steps forward, it chips away at the myth. We're not just watching a trial, we're watching a reckoning. This is about abuse that hid in plain sight, about power used to silence, about survivors fighting through fear to be heard, and we're only getting started. Subscribe now, hit the bell, because the next chapter might not just break the case, it might break the industry.